Good evening, John Augustine back again. Let's talk. Now, stories. Um, what's the news? What's the news? Oh, my ball chandelier. hmm Yeah, stories. Didn't somebody ride through the night in the United States with the good news in his horse? Paul Revere, was it? Yeah. And you've often heard uh, during periods when there was wars. What's it like at the front? We don't want to hear too much about that kind of thing. And you might be not well for a bit, and your spouse or your whoever is going to mass, and you might say, "What was the news?" And you might get the story that he gave a good sermon, and like a priest that I knew from Roscommon. And he used to say his phrase was, but he was very good in many ways: be bright, be brief, and be gone. So, in other words, say the bit, say the important thing. Oftentimes priests focus on the gospel, but most of us can figure that out ourselves to a certain extent. But some priests are good. They use that as a foundation for other things, bringing it into the current situation. And that, for example, the Beatitudes that Jesus preached on the mountain. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall see God. Blessed are the merciful, mercy will be shown to them. And blessed are the peacemakers, they shall be called sons of God. The Beatitudes, and that was a way of awakening people from the slumber that they might be in. And there's a great painting on that subject by Tissot, Tissot, and I saw it on one of the people that contact me, the Catholic Thing, which is in the United States, and it's very good. But it showed the various Tissot drew a picture and of all the invalids on the road. Um, it didn't. You saw that they were. It wasn't close up, but they were on the road because Jesus was passing, so they were going to be healed. It was a very evocative picture, and this is what paintings can kind of bring. If you've had the good fortune to be able to visit an art gallery, we have them in this country, the National Art Gallery in Dublin. I think it's in Motor Street, or maybe it's in Dawson Street, but I've been in it, and lovely paintings there. There's a Caravaggio, The Betrayal of Jesus, um, by Judas, and it's very evocative. It was a marvelous painting, and I did a copy of it myself. I have it in the hall. I meant to bring it in and show it. So these are the sort of things that one shares, and if you're, as I say, if you're wherever you're living, if you're near a gallery, there's one in Limerick, the Hunt, the Hunt Art Gallery. It used to be at the end of what was Patrick Street when I knew it because my mother was from Limerick. And I visited, and there's lovely paintings, and they're very helpful. The staff there, I spent quite a while there, and I've often visited that sort of place when I'm abroad. I visited one place in a church as you go towards Lewis because I was driving. I can drive over there, and did drive. No trouble at all. You had to go and, mine is right hand drive. It's not we drive on the left hand side of the road, they drive on the right hand, but you get used to it because you're going, you're not suddenly going to go down the wrong way because, you're not asleep. And I visited many places and many cities that I went to investigate what were. But this church in between a place called Piu. It's a kind of a good city, and it's pronounced poo. Sounds peculiar, but that's the pronunciation, but it's spelled Piu. And we stayed there. My wife had more interest in other things, but I was interested in visiting places, and I visited this church, and there was two statues in it of the crucified Jesus when he was scourged, and you'd think they were alive. I got a fright when I went in. There was one there, and I always visited that subsequently to say a prayer at those very evocative statues that were in glass, probably reinforced, I hope, in this church on the way. It's on the when you're driving on the side of I used to park the car and go in, and I only went in accidentally. But I saw great gifts, and I saw the beautiful ornate ceiling and all the rest of it. And it was a quiet place. In France, it can be very quiet, kind of thing. But when you go to Lourdes, all plenty of activity. But in other parts, you wouldn't see a cat crossing the streets. It's quite as something. I remember driving one place in the one town, and the only one that was in the town was an older lady at the time knitting in the square, and everything else silent. That's right on a Saturday afternoon when the place is running riot. Busy, busy, busy. Not there. No, they lead a very, well, I don't know what, quiet life. And yet, when if they're put upon, they'll be out in their droves. They're able to retire early, about 50 odd, but I think at 60, and the other crowd are trying to get it up. Hopefully, a drop, that type of thing. Anyways, I'm just mentioning the sort of thing that you do, and in that church they had a kind of a museum with various kinds of countries and they had quite a bit about Ireland when we had the pounds, shillings, and pence. Now a lot of people, younger people, wouldn't know what you were talking about, but that's what he had, and they had all them and various other countries currencies from other countries, but they had a good display of the Irish, and then I kind of found that I took a stroll, that there was a college, and I think nearly 1,000 students in it, kind of like a boarding school, and beautiful looking premises when you went down and that. So that's one of the great gifts of travelling. And I went a bit further, and then up on a field there was a shepherd minding sheep. I think it was sheep, or maybe it was goats, whatever it was. He waved at me, and I waved at him. And that's extraordinary. So that's the way when you're going about and what you see. And I'm just reminiscing stories. So I'm telling a few stories there because when I go abroad, other people don't seem to have any stories. They visit France and they've nothing to say. But I go looking, and one thing that I notice, which is you don't hear it mentioned, but every village, there's no such thing as you happen to look for a toilet. to have clean toilets in the smallest places that you can look after yourself. Because in this country where I'm living at the moment, there's no such thing. You have to go into a hotel or a pub or something and excuse yourself, say you made your mind about, and sometimes the sign on it, toilets are only for customers. So there you are. So the state doesn't supply that kind of thing here, more, which is more shame to them. In France, to have them in the smallest village, because myself and my late wife used to stay there in France for about a month. We used to rent here, there, and yonder, to a site called Owners Direct, and you could get. You check the prices. You go someplace, you nearly want to take out a loan for what they're looking for, but you've got to be prudent and find and in every small place there's lovely walks, and you hear the cuckoo in the month of March or April or something like that, or maybe it's May, and it's a lovely sound, isn't it? And you hear that because of the amount of forest they have and habitats for these and that. So it's a lovely experience we heard them ourselves, and we're going along. And the thing that they have as well is primroses going on the side of the road. Nobody plants them like what we have here in this country. And they're not planted, but there they are, gift of nature. I see daisies coming up in the garden. I like to see that sort of thing. Today was lovely. So it's like a mist this morning, like what they call the mist on the bog. And but it cleared off then in the afternoon, so I had a bit of a walk. It's grand when it's like that, and I'd be overcoat on, but it was just nice. And there was flies, or not flies, kind of like midges. Is that what they call them? And I don't like them lads. But anyways, they don't bother you this time of the year. And so I had a nice walk and that type of thing. So anyway, this is stories, isn't it? I'm at going on a bit. I better quit, as the fella says, going in my head. And there'll be more stories tomorrow. Bye now.